Hello and welcome. Only last week I was mentioning that my melon fruits were taking a long time, or it felt like a long time, to ripen. Perhaps because we have had such a cloudy, rainy summer. But since I said that, over the past week I'm being flooded with ripe melons and it is wonderful. A few days ago I had one of the larger melons ripe and ready, which I have already eaten, and then yesterday I harvested this ananas melon along with a Minnesota midget and an ogun. So lots of lovely melons. Now I forgot to take these in last night, which is why they're still sitting here in the polytunnel. This afternoon when I came out to get them, there are two more ripe melons ready to pick off the plants. Now I think this is a small one of the Emir melon. They can get a lot larger. This one just didn't get very big. It's gone nice and yellow though, so it's definitely ready. Along with another Minnesota midget. So now I've got two Minnesota midgets. These are about the size of tennis balls. I think they can get slightly larger than this, but as long as they taste delicious, it really doesn't matter what size they are. So I've got loads of melons to eat over the next couple of days. Delicious. And the cucumber plant is still doing a great job. Only one to harvest today, but I can see two more still on the vine that will be ready over the next few days. Now to go and get some tomatoes, because they're also doing very nicely now. It's late in the season because I planted my plants late in the season. I have predominantly small fruiting varieties of tomatoes this year, little cherry tomatoes and a few middle-sized plums. The plants are starting to die back a bit and the fruits are ripening up beautifully. On the other side of my walkway, yet more tomatoes. Hopefully they'll get time to ripen up before the temperatures start cooling down too much. Found a second cucumber today while I was picking tomatoes. They're really good at hiding in amongst the leaves. So today's harvest, pretty much the same as it's been every week for the past few weeks. Cucumbers, tomatoes and melons. Looking forward to the melons. They should be really good. Now a quick look at the outside garden. Here's the brassicas I first planted a couple of weeks ago. They're looking splendid. I am really pleased. Worth the effort of netting, slug pelleting and strawching. And if we move across the garden, oh, just up in the top, there's the nasturtiums I decided not to pull up yet. I'm glad I didn't. They're looking really good as well. Big splash of bright colour. The bees are enjoying them too. Alongside my first bed of brassicas, a couple of weeks later I put in a second bed. These are not as big or as far ahead because they were planted a couple of weeks later. They're looking really good though. Well, most of them are. I've got a couple at the end here, still looking a bit weak and pathetic. Maybe they'll catch up, but I'm not sure. Never mind, it'll give more room for the others to grow into. In last week's video, I was planting up a new garden bed in my old grassy meadow area. And here I'm standing next to some of the beds I planted up earlier this spring. Things have been settling in nicely and starting to look very garden-like, rather than just a grassy cattle field. I'm going to take you on a closer look to show you what I've been doing to help maintain this area over a longer period of time, using my cut grassy mulch. Hopefully it's all going to look like this eventually. There's a very big space. I carry on scanning round. You can see areas of grassland still behind me. Right, let's go and take a closer look and see how I've been maintaining it. What I've been doing to maintain my newly created planting spaces in this once grassy meadow is using cut grass as a mulch. When I first put plants into this new planting space, I cut some more fresh grass and put a big wall, put a big ridge or wall. There's a bee flying around you. It's probably making a noise. Be interesting to see what the mic picks up later. Right, back to gardening. So, distracted by a bee. So when I first put plants into my new planting space, I've created a wall of freshly cut grass clippings, about a foot high actually, all the way around the outside of the bed. This has given me a barrier between the grassy path and the growing flowering spaces. Now, several months on, this has dried out and died back, and I'm gathering up this now hay-like, very dry brown grassy mulch, and I'm gathering this up and using it to mulch around my plants. Anything that's growing and doing nicely, or even not doing very well and needs a bit of help, I've been putting this mulch in around it to continue suppressing the weeds where the plant's growing and keeping the moisture in the soil. Because I've removed my wall of dry grassy mulch from around the edges, I've been re-mulching this area with a fresh layer of newly cut grass to continue that separation between grassy paths and growing garden space. Here's an example of a recently attended to growing space. I took all the dry grassy mulch that was its little border hedge from around the edge and used it to mulch in around the plants in the bed, and cut more of the grassy paths and piled it up in a big ridge all the way around the edge. So my plants all freshly mulched and a new grassy border laid down. I've been doing the same with the bed behind it, which hasn't got as many plants in. This needs a bit more filling out as we go down to where those two black compost bin lids are lying. There's nothing planted in this lower point of this bed. In this bed I have a gladioli that was planted in late spring. I did eventually get a few flowers off of it. The deer didn't manage to eat all of them. This little silvery plant is a Brunnera, Jack Frost. It would actually prefer a bit more shade than it's getting here, but it's settling in very well. Up behind it I have an agapanthus, and behind that a yellow flowering sedum. Here in the front, this bushy ferny plant is a cosmos that fell over and is now put up lots of side shoots, so it's looking really bushy. And behind that, also fallen over, is another Veronica. I have them dotted about all over the place in my new garden beds. last look at the new garden bed space with its grassy, mulchy, hedgy edges. My goodness, that's a bit of a mouthful. And today's delicious polytunnel harvest. Bye for now and thanks for watching.